The golden glow of the chandelier reflected off the crystal glasses as laughter filled the room. The hum of music and the clinking of glasses created a symphony of celebration. It was our 10th wedding anniversary, a milestone my husband, Alex, and I had been eagerly looking forward to. Friends, family, and loved ones surrounded us, offering their congratulations and sharing memories that defined a decade of love and partnership. Among the crowd, my best friend, Sarah, stood out as she always did, dressed impeccably in a crimson gown. Her laughter was louder than most, and her compliments came wrapped in charm. Sarah had been my confidant since college, through breakups, career changes, and the ups and downs of life. She was more like a sister than a friend, someone I trusted implicitly. As I moved through the crowd, receiving hugs and warm wishes, I couldn't help but notice Sarah's proximity to Alex. They were standing by the bar, talking in hushed tones, their body language a little too familiar for comfort. I shook the thought away. It was just Sarah being Sarah, I told myself. She had always been the type to command attention, even from married men, but she had never crossed the line. Or so I thought. The night wore on, and my heart swelled with joy as Alex gave a heartfelt speech, thanking me for being his rock, his partner, and his best friend. I felt a deep sense of pride in our journey together, but an undercurrent of unease lingered, gnawing at the edges of my happiness. It wasn't just Sarah's lingering gaze on Alex. It was the way she laughed a little too hard at his jokes, the way she touched his arm during conversations, and the way her compliments seemed directed more at him than at us as a couple. Looking back, there were signs I had ignored for months. Little things that seemed harmless in isolation but painted a different picture when pieced together. The sudden influx of texts from Sarah about Alex, the way she always volunteered to help with our plans, the seemingly innocent comments about how lucky I was to have a husband like him. I brushed it off as insecurity, unwilling to tarnish the joy of the evening. But as the party unfolded, the tension became harder to ignore. The moment that would change everything came when Sarah proposed a toast. She stood in the center of the room, glass raised high, a radiant smile on her face. "To Alex and Emma," she began, her voice filled with emotion. "You've set the bar so high for love and loyalty. Alex, you've been such a source of inspiration, not just to Emma, but to all of us lucky enough to know you." Her words felt heavy, loaded with something unsaid. The room erupted in applause, but I couldn't shake the feeling that the toast was more for him than for us. I glanced at Alex, whose face was unreadable, and then at Sarah, who met my gaze with a smile that felt strangely hollow. That was the moment I knew. This wasn't just a party. It was the beginning of a betrayal that would shatter the foundation of two relationships I had held closest to my heart. In the weeks leading up to the anniversary party, Sarah's behavior had begun to shift, though I couldn't pinpoint exactly when or how it started. It was subtle at first, small, seemingly innocent gestures that I brushed off as her being overly helpful. She insisted on planning the party with Alex, saying I already had enough on my plate. "You should relax, Emma," she said with her usual charming smile. "Let me and Alex handle the details. It's your big day, after all." At first, I was grateful. After all, who wouldn't appreciate having a best friend who wanted to help make the day perfect? But as the days passed, I noticed that her updates about the party planning were always delivered to Alex, never to me. "I've emailed Alex the guest list," she said casually one evening. Or, "Alex and I decided on the floral arrangements. Hope you like them." Something about it felt off. Why was she bypassing me in decisions about my own anniversary party? I tried to rationalize it. Sarah had always been closer to Alex than most of my friends, and maybe she thought she was taking the pressure off me. But still, a part of me felt excluded. The night before the party, Alex and I sat on the couch, going over last-minute details. I noticed Sarah had texted him twice that evening. "What's she texting about now?" I asked, laughing nervously. "She's just confirming the caterer," Alex replied, his tone casual. But the way he quickly locked his phone after responding made my stomach churn. At the party, things escalated. I remember walking into the dining area and seeing Sarah standing close to Alex, her hand resting lightly on his shoulder as they laughed over some private joke. They didn't notice me at first, and when I approached, Sarah quickly pulled her hand back, a flicker of something, guilt maybe, crossing her face before she replaced it with a wide smile. "Emma, there you are," she said, pulling me into a hug. "Alex was just telling me how excited he is about your big speech tonight." I forced a smile, but my mind was racing. Why did it feel like I had interrupted something? Later in the evening, I stepped away from the main hall to take a breather. I needed a moment to collect myself. The tension was gnawing at me, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. That's when I saw them. Alex and Sarah were standing by the balcony, their heads close together in what appeared to be an intense conversation. I froze, watching from the shadows as Sarah touched his arm. Again. This time, it wasn't a casual gesture. It lingered, her fingers trailing down his sleeve before she let go. I debated confronting them right then and there, but fear held me back. What if I was overreacting? What if it was all in my head? I didn't want to be the paranoid wife who accused her best friend and husband of something so outrageous. Still, I couldn't ignore the gnawing suspicion. I decided to keep a closer eye on them for the rest of the evening, determined to either confirm my fears or put them to rest. As the party continued, more unsettling moments unfolded. At one point, I noticed Sarah whispering something to Alex, and when I approached, their conversation abruptly stopped. They both looked at me, startled, as if I had interrupted a secret. "What's going on?" I asked, trying to sound casual. "Nothing," Alex said quickly, his smile strained. Sarah chimed in, laughing lightly. "I was just telling Alex how lucky he is to have you." Her words sounded sincere, but her tone felt hollow. The unease in my chest grew heavier. The breaking point came when I went upstairs to grab my purse. On my way back down, I noticed Sarah's phone buzzing on the hallway table. A message from Alex flashed on the screen. "We can't talk here." Later, I froze, my heart pounding so loudly I was sure someone would hear it. I stared at the screen, the weight of betrayal crashing down on me like a tidal wave. What did he mean by later? What were they hiding? The emotional toll hit me like a freight train. My mind raced with questions. Was Alex involved in this? Had I been blind to something happening right under my nose? And Sarah, my best friend, my sister in all but blood, how could she? I felt a surge of anger, sadness, and disbelief all at once. Part of me wanted to march downstairs and confront them both in front of everyone. But another part of me was too scared to face the truth. What if my worst fears were confirmed? I spent the rest of the evening in a haze, plastering on a fake smile and avoiding both Alex and Sarah as much as I could. Every time I saw them together, my heart ached. The betrayal felt like a knife twisting deeper with each passing moment. By the time the party ended, I knew I couldn't ignore it any longer. Something was happening between my best friend and my husband, and I had to find out the truth. The morning after the party, I woke up feeling heavy, my head swimming with everything I'd seen and felt the night before. I couldn't shake the image of Sarah and Alex whispering on the balcony, or the cryptic text on her phone. My instincts screamed at me to dig deeper, but my heart resisted, clinging to the hope that I was wrong. I decided to start with something small, something innocent. While Alex was in the shower, I picked up his phone, trying not to feel like an intruder in my own marriage. His messages with Sarah were there, but they seemed innocuous on the surface. Updates about the party, logistics, and a few jokes. Still, something didn't sit right. Why would Alex send a message saying, "We can't talk here"? Later, if there was nothing to hide? I scrolled further back and found a string of texts from a few weeks earlier. "Sarah, I don't think Emma will notice. Let's just go with it." Alex, "Fine. But if she asks, you're the one explaining it." The messages didn't explain much, but they were enough to light a fire in my chest. What exactly wouldn't I notice? I decided to confront Sarah first. I called her, feigning nonchalance. "Hey, Sarah," I began, my voice steady. "I just wanted to say thank you for all your help with the party. You and Alex did an amazing job." She laughed, her tone light. "Oh, stop. It was all for you. You deserve it." I hesitated, then pressed on. "By the way, I saw a text from Alex last night on your phone. It said something about talking later. What was that about? There was a beat of silence, so brief it might have gone unnoticed if I hadn't been hanging on to her every word. Oh, that, she said, recovering quickly. It was just about the caterer. Something went wrong with the dessert table, and Alex wanted to fix it without bothering you. Her explanation was smooth, but it didn't feel right. My heart sank further, but I forced myself to laugh. Well, thank you for taking care of it. I owe you one. Hanging up the phone, I knew I wasn't getting the full story. The next step came when I decided to go through the receipts from the party. As I sifted through them, something odd caught my eye. A charge for an expensive bottle of perfume. It wasn't on the list of party expenses, and I hadn't received anything like it as a gift. A thought struck me, and I dug deeper into the receipts and invoices. Buried among the legitimate expenses was another charge for a boutique jewelry store, one I knew Sarah frequented. My chest tightened as I pieced it together. I confronted Alex that evening, trying to keep my tone casual. Hey, I was looking at the party expenses today. Did you buy a gift for someone else? He looked up from his laptop, startled. What? No, why? There's a charge for a perfume boutique and a jewelry store, I said, watching his face carefully. For a moment, he looked genuinely confused. Then his expression shifted almost imperceptibly, a flicker of panic before he masked it with a laugh. Oh, that. I bought you something, but it didn't arrive in time for the party. I wanted it to be a surprise. His explanation was plausible, but my instinct screamed otherwise. I nodded, not wanting to push further just yet. The turning point came 2 days later when I overheard Sarah and Alex talking in the kitchen. I had come home early from work, and they hadn't heard me enter. Alex, you can't keep pretending this didn't happen, Sarah was saying, her voice low but urgent. If she finds out. She won't, Alex interrupted. I'll handle it. My blood ran cold. I stepped into the kitchen, my voice trembling. Find out what? Both of them froze, their faces pale. Sarah opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. Alex, on the other hand, stammered, Emma, this isn't what it looks like. I crossed my arms, my voice sharp. Then explain what it is. For a moment, the room was silent, the tension so thick it was suffocating. Finally, Sarah spoke. Emma, I think you're misunderstanding. We were just talking about the party. I shook my head, my anger boiling over. Don't insult me, Sarah. I saw the text, the receipts, the way you two acted at the party. I deserve the truth. Alex looked at Sarah, then back at me, his shoulders sagging. Emma, there's nothing going on between us. Sarah was helping me plan a surprise for you. A second honeymoon. A second honeymoon. I echoed, disbelief coloring my tone. Yes, Sarah chimed in, nodding fervently. We wanted it to be a surprise, but I guess we weren't careful enough. Their story was convincing, almost too convincing. But the seeds of doubt had already been sown. The final nail in the coffin came later that night when I received a message from an unknown number. It was a screenshot of a conversation between Alex and Sarah. Sarah, I wish it could just be us. Do you really think she won't find out? Alex, she trusts us. We just need to be careful. My hands trembled as I read the words, the reality of their betrayal crashing down on me like a tidal wave. There was no room for denial now. My best friend, the person I had trusted with my deepest secrets, had crossed the line. And Alex, my husband, my partner, had allowed it to happen. I confronted them both the next day, my voice shaking with anger and pain. You lied to me, I said, holding up the screenshot. How could you both do this to me? Sarah burst into tears while Alex struggled to defend himself. Emma, it's not what it looks like, he insisted. But it didn't matter anymore. The damage was done. As I stood there holding the screenshot, watching Sarah cry and Alex fumble for words, I realized something. I couldn't let their betrayal define me. I had been blindsided. Yes, but I wasn't powerless. I was the one who had built this marriage, this life, and I wasn't going to let anyone take that away from me. Not my best friend, not even my husband. I took a deep breath, steadying myself. Enough, I said firmly. My voice wasn't loud, but it cut through the room like a knife. I need answers, and I need them now. No more lies, no more excuses. Alex sighed heavily, running a hand through his hair. Emma, I didn't mean for this to happen. I let things go too far, but it was never serious. Sarah, still sniffling, tried to interject. Emma, I swear, it was just, I don't even know what I was thinking. It was stupid and selfish. I held up a hand to silence her. I don't want apologies right now. I want the truth. When did this start? The room fell silent. Alex finally spoke. It started a few months ago. Sarah and we started talking more while planning your anniversary party. It wasn't supposed to be anything, but it got complicated. Complicated? I repeated, my voice laced with bitterness. You mean you decided that my friendship and my trust weren't worth anything? Sarah sobbed louder, and Alex looked away, unable to meet my eyes. The truth was out, but it didn't make the pain any less. If anything, it deepened the wound. That night, I made a decision. I wouldn't let their betrayal consume me. After they left, I sat down and wrote out my thoughts. What did I want? What did I need to move forward? The answers weren't easy, but they were clear. The first step was setting boundaries. I called Sarah the next morning. We're done, I told her. I can't have you in my life anymore. You betrayed me in the worst possible way, and I can't forgive that. She begged for another chance, but I stayed firm. This isn't about you, Sarah. It's about me. I need to protect myself, and that means cutting you out. Hanging up the phone, I felt a strange sense of relief. It wasn't easy to end a friendship that had spanned years, but it was necessary. Dealing with Alex was harder. We had built a life together, a home, a marriage, shared dreams, but the trust between us was shattered, and I didn't know if it could be rebuilt. We sat down that evening to talk. I laid everything out, my voice steady but firm. Alex, I need to know if you're committed to fixing this. If not, I won't waste my time. He nodded, his eyes filled with regret. Emma, I'll do whatever it takes. I know I messed up, and I'll spend the rest of my life making it up to you if you let me. Then you need to understand something, I said. This isn't just about you apologizing. It's about rebuilding trust, and that's going to take time. You'll need to earn it back, step by step. He agreed to go to couples therapy, a suggestion I had been hesitant to make, but knew was necessary. Over the following weeks, we began the hard work of unpacking what had happened, why it had happened, and what needed to change. Therapy wasn't easy. There were moments when I wanted to walk away, when the pain felt too raw to confront. But I kept reminding myself of my worth. I deserved a partner who valued and respected me. And if Alex couldn't be that person, I would find a way to move forward on my own. Through therapy, I learned to set boundaries, not just with Alex, but with myself. I stopped blaming myself for what had happened. It wasn't my fault that Sarah had crossed the line, or that Alex had let her. Their actions were a reflection of their choices, not my shortcomings. I also started focusing on myself. I picked up hobbies I had neglected, spent time with friends who truly supported me, and even began journaling to process my emotions. Each step, no matter how small, was a step toward reclaiming my sense of self. As weeks turned into months, Alex and I continued to work on our marriage. Slowly, I began to see changes in him. He was more present, more open, more willing to communicate. He took responsibility for his actions without deflecting or making excuses. But rebuilding trust wasn't just about him. It was about me, too, about allowing myself to believe in the possibility of change while still protecting my heart. I learned to speak up when something bothered me, instead of bottling it up. I learned to prioritize my happiness, even if it meant making difficult choices. Ultimately, I had to make a decision. Could I forgive Alex and move forward, or was it time to let go? In the end, I chose to stay. It wasn't an easy decision, and it wasn't one I made lightly. But I saw the effort Alex was putting in, and I felt that our marriage was worth fighting for. That didn't mean everything went back to the way it was before. Our relationship had changed, and so had I. I was stronger, more self-assured, and more aware of my own worth. As for Sarah, I never spoke to her again. Cutting her out of my life was painful, but it was also liberating. I realized that true friends don't betray you. They support you, uplift you, and respect your boundaries. By the time our next anniversary rolled around, things were different. Alex and I celebrated quietly, just the two of us, reflecting on the challenges we had faced and the growth we had experienced. I wasn't the same person I had been a year ago, and I was grateful for that. The betrayal had hurt, but it had also taught me valuable lessons about trust, boundaries, and the importance of prioritizing myself. The year that followed the anniversary party was one of the most transformative of my life. It was a journey of heartbreak, healing, and rediscovery. What began as an evening tainted by betrayal became the catalyst for a profound shift in how I viewed myself, my relationships, and the people I allowed into my life. Ending my friendship with Sarah was one of the most painful decisions I'd ever made. For years, she had been my confidant, my partner in crime, my rock. Losing her felt like losing a part of myself. But as time passed, I began to see things more clearly. Betrayal doesn't just come out of nowhere. It often stems from unresolved insecurities and unmet desires. In Sarah's case, her actions were a reflection of her own struggles, not my shortcomings. This realization didn't excuse what she had done, but it helped me let go of the anger and resentment that had weighed me down for months. I learned an important lesson. True friendship is built on mutual respect and trust. Sarah had broken that trust, and while I forgave her for my own peace of mind, I also chose to walk away. Not every relationship is meant to be salvaged, and that's okay. Rebuilding my marriage with Alex was a different kind of challenge. Trust once broken is difficult to restore, but it isn't impossible. Over the course of our therapy sessions, I realized that Alex wasn't just seeking my forgiveness. He was working to understand the underlying issues in our relationship and within himself. Through open communication and consistent effort, we began to address the cracks that had formed long before Sarah entered the picture. Alex learned to be more present and transparent, and I learned to set boundaries and advocate for my needs. One of the most surprising outcomes of this process was how it strengthened our bond. The betrayal forced us to confront uncomfortable truths about our relationship, and in doing so, we discovered a new depth of understanding and connection. It wasn't easy, but it was worth it. That said, forgiveness didn't mean forgetting. The experience left scars, but those scars became reminders of the resilience and growth we were capable of as individuals and as a couple. Perhaps the most significant transformation was the one that occurred within me. For too long, I had placed my worth in the hands of others, my husband, my best friend, even societal expectations of what a good wife or friend should be. This experience forced me to confront my own insecurities and take ownership of my happiness. I began to focus on self-care in a way I never had before. I joined a yoga class, started journaling daily, and even took up painting, a hobby I had abandoned years ago. These small acts of self-love reminded me of who I was outside of my roles as a wife and friend. I also started building new relationships with people who genuinely valued and supported me. Whether it was reconnecting with old friends or making new ones, I found joy in surrounding myself with positive, uplifting individuals. Most importantly, I learned to trust my instincts. The subtle signs I had ignored, the lingering glances, the dismissive comments, were my intuition trying to warn me. Going forward, I promised myself I would never dismiss those inner whispers again. The events of that night and the months that followed taught me lessons that extended far beyond my personal relationships. They reinforced the importance of trust, not just in others, but in myself. Trust is a fragile yet essential foundation for any relationship. It requires effort, communication, and mutual respect to maintain. But when it's broken, it's equally important to acknowledge the pain and take steps toward healing, whether that means repairing the relationship or walking away. I also came to understand the power of boundaries. Setting boundaries isn't selfish, it's necessary. It's a way of protecting your emotional well-being and ensuring that the people in your life treat you with the respect you deserve. Finally, this experience was a profound reminder of self-worth. Betrayal can make you question your value, but it's crucial to remember that someone else's actions don't define you. You are worthy of love, respect, and happiness, no matter what challenges you face. A year after the anniversary party, I found myself reflecting on everything that had happened. While I wouldn't wish that kind of pain on anyone, I was grateful for the growth it had inspired. My marriage, though scarred, was stronger than ever. Alex and I had learned to communicate in ways we never had before, and we approached our relationship with a newfound sense of partnership and respect. As for Sarah, I hadn't heard from her since our last conversation, and I was at peace with that. Letting go of our friendship was a necessary step in reclaiming my sense of self. Most importantly, I had rediscovered my own strength. I wasn't just the woman who had been betrayed. I was the woman who had risen above it. I had faced one of the most challenging experiences of my life and come out the other side stronger, wiser, and more self-assured. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this: betrayal doesn't have to break you. It can be the spark that ignites your transformation. This experience taught me the importance of trusting myself, setting boundaries, and prioritizing my well-being. It showed me that even in the face of heartbreak, I had the power to heal, grow, and create a life filled with love and respect. As I look ahead, I carry these lessons with me. Life is unpredictable, and challenges are inevitable, but I know now that I am capable of facing them with strength and grace. To anyone who has ever experienced betrayal, my message is this: you are stronger than you realize. Trust yourself, value yourself, and never settle for less than you deserve. With that, I close the chapter on one of the most difficult yet transformative periods of my life. It wasn't the ending I had envisioned, but it was the one I needed. And as I celebrated my next anniversary, with Alex by my side and a heart full of gratitude, I felt a sense of peace I hadn't known in years. I was finally home, not just in my marriage, but in myself.